It's 2 a.m. The world is asleep. Somewhere, a keyboard clicks in Pyongyang, North Korea. A man at a keyboard, sanctioned, cut off from the world, yet about to move nearly $1 billion with a few keystrokes. His mission isn't greed, and he'll never see a dollar of that money. It's survival for himself, first and foremost, and for his regime. Thousands of miles away, millions of dollars vanish, but it'll be days before the millions missing is even discovered. They didn't break in, they typed, they forged, they deceived. By sunrise, a bank was emptied, digitally. This is the story of a heist with no masks, no guns, just code. Welcome to the North Korean bank heist. Today, we peel back the layers on how they got access and how you or I might be closer to being a target than we think. North Korea, a country cloaked in secrecy, a government with global enemies, an economy strained by sanctions. Yet, somehow, reservoirs of money, and at the top of it all, Kim Jong-un, a man rumored to have the world's largest nuclear arsenal and the world's smallest tolerance for jokes about his height. So, let's not test that. Vast funds flowing in, often through shadows. Meet the Lazarus Group. On paper, they don't exist. In reality, they're one of the most feared hacker collectives on Earth, tied to North Korea's military intelligence. They first made headlines in 2014 when Sony Pictures got hacked over a Seth Rogen comedy film mocking Kim Jong-un. Hard drives wiped, emails leaked, Hollywood humiliated. The FBI blamed Lazarus, and the world took notice. But that was just the trailer. The main event, a billion-dollar heist that made banks worldwide realize their biggest weakness wasn't steel vaults, it was servers. After Sony, they pivoted. They created Apartment 38, the money crew. Less chaos, more cash. Patient hackers who sit inside banks for months before striking. Between 2015 and 2019, Lazarus and Apartment 38 tried to steal over $2 billion worldwide. And investigators say the money flowed into Room 39, a slush fund for the regime, fueling weapons and cyber operations. Which means these weren't just robberies. This was state-sponsored cybercrime. Apartment 38 is patient. They spend months inside a bank's systems before striking. Like a stalker who studies your routine, knows when you leave for work, what route you take, even watches your spending habits. And after seeing you get blackout drunk on dollar beers every Thursday, they decide your life is hard enough and move on. They studied networks, mimicking insiders, waiting for the perfect moment to slip fraudulent SWIFT messages into the global financial bloodstream. And when the transfers hit, accounts are emptied in seconds, laundered across borders before anyone notices. It's February 2016. Dhaka, Bangladesh. The weekend has just begun. The Bangladesh Central Bank's offices are closed. Lights are off. But inside their network, someone is very much awake. For months, Lazarus had been lurking in the bank's system, not smashing windows, not cracking safes, just quietly studying how the SWIFT messaging system worked. The network banks used to tell each other, "Hey, move the money." On February 4th, a single command set off one of the boldest bank heists in modern history. $951 million requested in transfers from Bangladesh to accounts in the Philippines and Sri Lanka. The plan was meticulous. Dozens of fraudulent messages sent through SWIFT, fake invoices, even hacked printers inside the bank that were reprogrammed to hide the evidence. By morning, only one thing stopped Lazarus from making off with nearly $1 billion. The timing of the heist wasn't random. It was a masterclass in planning. Here's why. In Bangladesh, the work week runs Sunday to Thursday, which means when the hackers triggered the transfers on Thursday night, February 4th, the bank was shutting down for its weekend. No one was coming back to work until Sunday, but that was only half the setup. The money was routed through the Philippines, and that Monday, February 8th, was a public holiday there, the Lunar New Year, which meant Filipino banks and regulators would also be running skeleton crews if they were open at all. So what does that mean in practice? It means the fraudulent transfers had a 72-hour head start before anyone on either end would even glance at them. By the time staff in Bangladesh realized something was wrong, the money had already been accepted, laundered, and dispersed in Manila.
2 different countries, 2 different calendars, a weekend stacked against a holiday. That overlap created a perfect blind spot. One that Lazarus knew about, planned for, and exploited with precision. One of the transfer requests said Shalika Fandation instead of Shalika Foundation, a typo. That one word made Deutsche Bank suspicious, and they blocked part of the transaction. A billion-dollar plan, foiled by overlooking 2 single letters. But by the time the error was caught, it was too late. $81 million had already slipped into accounts in the Philippines, laundered through casinos, where cash disappears as fast as it's dealt. Investigators scrambled. They traced IP addresses to Malaysia, the Philippines, and, inevitably, to servers linked back to North Korea. The Lazarus fingerprints were everywhere. Malware code matched other hacks, and digital breadcrumbs led back to Pyongyang. Bangladesh never got most of that money back. The casinos claimed they were just middlemen. And North Korea? They denied everything. Officially, the heist never happened. Think about it. A spelling mistake saved the world nearly $1 billion. But it still handed North Korea one of the most successful bank robberies in history. No guns, no getaway cars, just keyboards, patience, and an $870 million typo that almost changed everything. In the months that followed, investigators chased digital footprints across continents. Malware samples matched earlier Lazarus attacks, IP addresses linked back to Pyongyang, and eventually, indictments named individuals like Park Jin-hyuk, accused of being part of the Lazarus machine. This wasn't just a robbery, it was a message. Banks around the world realized that their vaults weren't steel doors, they were servers. And those servers were vulnerable. Lazarus had shown that a nation-state could rob banks with nothing but patience and code. Between 2015 and 2019, Lazarus and APT38 tried to steal more than $2 billion from financial institutions across at least 30 countries. And while the Bangladesh bank heist is the most famous, it's far from the only one. Money trails led into cryptocurrencies, shell companies, and ultimately into Room 39, a shadowy department said to bankroll the North Korean regime. Which means this wasn't just about cashing out. It was about funding weapons, sanctions evasion, and cyber operations that continue to this day. So, what did we learn? That one typo may have saved the global financial system nearly $1 billion. An isolated country showed it could project power not with tanks, but with malware. And the most dangerous criminals? They don't wear masks or carry guns. They just log in. And somewhere in North Korea, a keyboard is still clicking. The next heist is already being written.